Back on TYT Sports. Last time Andre Snellings was on, I had to flee the country for many, many reasons, but obviously all my legal trouble got sorted out. I'm just kidding. But Andre joins me once again, the dynamic duo reunited. We are in the process of trying to figure out, unfortunately, where James Harden is. He was at the game yesterday, we think, and now we don't know where. There's the milk carton memes. There's the Ginobili blocking Michael Jordan memes. That's my favorite by far. And it was just not the best time for James Harden to have his worst game of 2017 and such a remarkable season. Andre, I have 14 loaded questions, but your thoughts watching it, and did you really believe it could be that bad?
No, you know I didn't. I mean, all year long, I'm not going to jump off it now. All year long, I was on the James Harden and Rockets bandwagon that, I thought him and D'Antoni would work and it would go better than anybody expected and he'd be the MVP. And, up until last night, I was feeling pretty good about my predictive abilities.
Kawhi's out. Kawhi is out of the game.
Yeah. But you know what was funny? When I was writing my articles, my DFS articles talking about the game, and I kept referring to how, well, with Kawhi out, the only question is, will it be a blowout? And if it's a blowout, then that could be a problem. But otherwise, there should be a lot of value on the Spurs. There was a part of me in my head kind of like, what if they actually beat them without Kawhi? Like, nah, but it was just this little voice. But even that voice wasn't expecting them to just get thrashed. And, the whole where in the world is James Harden. I guess Saturday Night Live did the where in the world is Kellyanne Conway last week.
Such a good 30-second bit. It was so good.
Right. They dusted her off, got her out the basement, for the scandal for this week. So I guess the where in the world is James Harden next.
I mean, look, so here's what I'm trying to play back in my head. At the end of the third quarter in game 5, it's a 2-2 series. The game can go either way. All signs are pointing to, regardless of result, Houston probably wins game 6, and we're seeing a game 7 because this is it's what we want. We want competitive basketball, obviously, that's what everybody wants. But at that point, you think this is gonna be a hell of a last 3 games. And instead, it was the most lopsided fourth quarter through the next overtime period and 4, so 5.5 quarters I've seen, truthfully, since the Spurs dominating the Heat in 2014 in that lopsided 5-game series. Because I don't believe that they completely ran out of gas. It makes if he was riding the tank on empty on games 1 through 3.5, almost all games 1 through 4, and his car just died, his battery just died in the middle of a game, that doesn't make any sense to me. I'm trying to figure it out because I like James Harden without Dwight Howard in the picture. I think we all like James Harden without Dwight Howard in the picture. And I liked what Mike D'Antoni was doing, even though historically he has not had success against Popovich. So where do you put the praise? Pop's a master, we know this. LaMarcus Aldridge was in his unstoppable mode, especially in the post. He was big on the boards. There's no Kawhi Leonard. The Vegas line only moved 2 or 3 points, which was fishy, and they won by 39. I feel like I'm gonna post this clip and someone said, you didn't watch the right game, did you? There was another one after that.
Yeah, I mean, so, there's a lot to unpack in what you just said there.
Go for it.
It's really, interesting to me. The sample size is too small to come up with this is definitely the case. But it's really interesting to me that as soon as Kawhi Leonard left the court, it was like all of a sudden the Rockets forgot how to play and the Spurs were unbeatable. I don't think that says anything bad about Kawhi. Obviously we've talked about it before. He's on the short list of MVP candidates for the year. But it does make me wonder if maybe when Kawhi was around, the Spurs were trying to play a style that did not work to their advantage against the Rockets. That if Kawhi made them feel like, okay, well, we can score with these guys. And, I'll be watching the games and you would hear the announcers Like, man, that's another quick shot by the Spurs. But what's going on, man? Pop has to be so mad. It's another quick shot. But then when Kawhi goes out, then they're forced to run the offense more inside out. They start going to LaMarcus Aldridge. When I was on with Francis last week, we were talking about how, or he was saying he expected the Spurs to win because he thought Kawhi would. He thought that LaMarcus Aldridge would go off. And I picked the Rockets, even though I said the Spurs were the favorite. I thought the Rockets would win in 7. But up until like Game 5, it really felt like LaMarcus was just not going to show up. He had one decent game, but he just wasn't doing all that much. And then again, right around the time when the Rockets start disappearing, is right around the same time that they start going to LaMarcus, letting him operate, letting him try to punish the smaller guys on him. And all of a sudden, they became unbeatable, at least for that game and a half.
Just never count them out. Andre, you're one of the most brilliant basketball writers that I know personally. I know it's a decent amount, so I don't know all of them. But your Hoops Lab columns, your in-depth analysis, like, you took the Rockets, and even I bet the Rockets, but that's because I'm an idiot and there was better money on it. That had nothing to do with anything to do with brains or brilliance. Never count out the Spurs. Now, they're going to go play the Warriors, and it's a very different series. And we don't know what Kawhi's health is because he doesn't show emotion ever.
He's from the Tim Duncan school of cyborg.
And that's the funniest thing is they said, actually, Pop said, you thought Kawhi was quiet? You should talk to Tim. Supposedly, Tim was quieter than Kawhi, which I'm going, I don't know how it's possible. The guy doesn't even bend his elbow when he dunks. He just straight, I would say, straight in the air. It's so Kawhi Leonard-esque. They go to play the Warriors. I think this is the series I was talking with J.R. Jackson, another one of the guests we have on, and one of the producers here at TYT, and we were both discussing, we want this series. We wanted 2 games ago, we wanted the Spurs Warriors because can Pop figure it out? Could Pop figure out this puzzle that is the Golden State Warriors offense? He just figured out possibly one of the most efficient, greatest offenses ever. Could he do it again? And what is he going to take to get out of that? And then you have to go against the Cavs. This would be the most, I think this would be the most remarkable of Spurs runs if they were to win this finals, because the degree to how good the Rockets were this year on paper, the degree to how good the Warriors, do we need to even throw up a chart of 15 stats of the Warriors here, if you don't mind, editors, there you go. And then of course, I would think the Cavaliers. Could the Spurs beat the Warriors in 6 or 7 games or less? Or is it Warriors back to the finals?
So in this particular case, and I never know beforehand who I'm going to be pulling for because I don't really have
we're not holding you to it either, don't worry.
So what? No.
We're not holding your feet to the fire, don't worry.
Yeah, but the thing is that, at this moment, I find that I want the Spurs to win. I don't know if it's an underdog thing. I would love to see them win. That's my heart. My head says Warriors in 5. Like I don't, I don't. I look at the 2 teams and I don't see where San Antonio has any advantages. The Warriors are more talented top to bottom.
Yep.
They've had more success in this iteration of teams. The Rockets were always mercurial. Got it out. They're always mercurial because they were, Harden has talent, but if the team was hot, they could beat anybody. If the team was not, they can lose by 39 to a team without their best player. You don't see those types of swings with the Warriors. Steph Curry, his shot is always wet. Kevin Durant, when he plays anyway, is who they build the offense around, and we know how he gets down. If you read my Hoops Lab, you know that I think Draymond Green's the most important player on that team.
This is 3 years running.
A defensive backbone that the Rockets just don't have. So I just don't see it. I don't see the angle by which San Antonio is able to pull this out.
3 years running. It's funny because I've been here and we started our conversation, almost about 2 years running, our conversations. One of our first conversations was about the Warriors and Draymond Green and why. And it's funny how the conversation or the title slowly shifted from, is it possible that Draymond Green is more valuable than X, Y, or Z, Curry, Thompson, Durant in this year's situation, to the numbers are starting to really, really support Draymond Green being the X factor. And one of the things that frustrates me that I see online, and of course I get frustrated over dumb stuff I see online because that's the internet, that's Twitter for you. What if you take Draymond Green and put him on the Atlanta Hawks? Well, we don't have a sample size for that. The only sample size we have, I think, for Draymond Green not in a Warriors uniform is like maybe over the summer in like the Dew League tour. Whatever mixtapes he's creating. Maybe you can go back to Michigan State. That's the last team that we have a sample size for. I don't know, is it the Dew Green tour? I'm making things up at this point. But my point being is the argument of, if you put him on the Nets. Yes, the Nets are objectively like 29 teams worse than the Warriors are. Therefore, all of his numbers would probably go down, but the team's numbers, I guarantee, would go up.
Yeah, and see, and that's the thing. It's trying to separate the individual and the individual's impact from the team results. And yeah, I see the same thing all the time. I mean, heck, you saw the article I wrote last week. It's, there's so much pushback because it has evolved. A couple years ago, if you said Draymond Green was a superstar, people would laugh at you, despite what the nerd stats say. Last year, when I wrote repeatedly, like, hey, this guy might be the MVP of the team. Steph's going to be the unanimous league MVP, but this Draymond dude's really dang good.
Right.
It was still like, yeah, whatever. And I think earlier this year on one of my TYT videos, I made a toss away comment about how Draymond Green might just be the most valuable player in the NBA. And I got reamed in the comments, know?
Of course.
And it's not even stuff like, oh, well, he, he's good, but you're overrating him. It's stuff like, oh, dude, you've never watched basketball. Draymond,
that's my favorite.
I think he's the greatest. And I'm like, I promise y'all, I watch a lot of basketball. I promise you, I have an idea what I'm talking about.
It's my favorite argument ever. These guys don't watch basketball. No, what we do is we come in the morning. We don't watch.
No, never that.
We just talk about it. I had to leave the country because the Raptors beat the Bucks in 6 games. You know that, right? I had no choice but
as
to
soon as you
leave.
made that prediction, it was like, oh snap, my man's got to go on the run now.
I love it. I'm excited though. I mean, they play tonight. Is game?
Yeah, game 6 of the Celtics Wizards is tonight.
Give us 7 games. Just come on, just give it to us. Give us 7 games. We want one. We want another one. We had ISO Joe versus the Clippers, which is still my favorite series of this playoffs by far. And then we're in for an absolutely wild offseason. And I'm sure Andre will be around to discuss and break it down. But of course, before that, we have the NBA Finals, which should be great. We have the Conference Finals, which I think this Warriors-Spurs series, we've wanted it for 3 years, now we get it. So don't let us down, make it great, make the Conference Finals 7 games each, and then we can have some fun. Andre, as always, thanks for joining me. hoopslab.rotowire.com. Over there, Andre describes how he watches basketball. Amongst some other stuff, I've been reading the running diaries of being a father, and I am scared out of my mind to ever be one now. So thank you for putting off my plans 5 more years. At Professor DRZ on Twitter, you guys know all that good stuff, and make sure to subscribe to TYT Sports.